lower for you. Aye, aye. All topping off the top of the list. KF6 UNG. And Dennis, we just celebrated their 4th anniversary. And next is Larry, W6 WU8, followed by DJ, K6 RCL, Goleta, where they got 28 inches of rain this year. And then next is Phil, N6 WHA, over.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay, got to take another trip here. WA9JIB, Bob is next, followed by Glenn, WB6RLC, and Kevin, WA6JKN. And Matthew, N4 Delta Lima Alpha, over.
What's DLA's name?
Matthew.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, next is Wayne, KB6OQJ, followed by Mike, KG7TR, and Chuck, N6 Alpha Fox, and Art, KB7LOQ, finally Skip, K6LMQ, and you put me in the top 5 somewhere, I would appreciate it. Any fills?
Well, I think I have them all. Before I get going here, anybody else trying to get on? Okay, that's a pretty good one. I'll put you, let's see here. I'll put you after DJ. But thank you very much for taking the earlies. I really appreciate that. Let me get that written in here. All right. So that's the order we're going to do them in. Okay, good evening. This is Rocco N6KN, transmitting from Rancho Palos Verdes. And I'll be the host for this evening's roundtable. Without any objections, I'm going to get going here a little bit early, guys. So forgive me if anybody is going to arrive just exactly at 7. The roundtable meets on or about 3895 kilohertz plus or minus, depending on whether the frequency is occupied or we have QRM or whatever, or vintage VFOs. We're going to be talking a little bit about that. To check into this roundtable, you must be using a radio that's manufactured in or before 1980 or home-brewed with equivalent technology. Transistors, tubes, or hybrids are welcome as long as they were manufactured in 1980 or before. So if you happen to be a first-time check-in, you can use a modern radio for the purpose of inquiring about joining this group and obtaining a vintage radio. Let's see, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to cut it short here a little bit. Consider accessing the KFS web SDR on your computer if you want to hear more stations if we have poor propagation, because we just never know on this frequency. And we will have a question of the evening, and I will go through that in just a second. At the end of each roundtable, there's a Golden Cup Award that's given to a roundtable member who's singled out because of some outstandingly interesting, funny, informative, etc. comments made during their check-in. Okay, so before we dive into it, are there any announcements only of interest to vintage SSB radio topics? Go now. Okay, well, I'll make one. The vintage SSB barbecue will be at my house. That's Rocco N6KN on April 22nd. At, I think we said we'd start that at 11 a.m. So if you need any information on that, get a hold of me. But that's coming up. Let's see. Are there any other stations trying to get on the list? Go now. Okay, let's dive into it then. Here's the question of the evening, and so this is going to be a little bit of a challenge for the group. We'll see what you guys come up with on this one. The question is glass smooth tuning. How do you achieve it? Yeah, I know you can go down and buy a modern radio at the candy store, but for vintage radios, how do you do it? So, most of the time, this will involve metal variable capacitors with all kinds of mechanical drive stuff in there. Could be gears, could be this and that and the other thing. So when you are refurbishing a radio and that has sticky or scratchy or jumpy tuning, what do you do? And what I'm getting at is the care and feeding of the variable itself and anything that you want to share about things like indexing, alignment, meaning spread, meaning that mysterious LNC that you adjust to get your spread just right. If you want to talk about something really advanced like knifing, or if you want to talk about something kind of dumb that you run into like bent capacitor plates because somebody stuck their thumb in there, whatever you want to share, okay? So that's what it's about. And so let's see, we'll go through the first four. Dennis, W6DQ, followed by Lisa, KF6QNG. Lisa, please hand it to Larry, W6WUH. And then Larry, if you would give it to DJ, K6RCL. W6DQ, go ahead, Dennis.
Okay, Rocco, good evening to you, and good evening to the roundtable, sorry. This is W6DQ, Dennis out here in Inyokern, and tonight we're running, of course, the old KWM 380 and the Alpha 87 out to the horizontal loop up at 50 feet. It's a full wave on 160, about 540 feet. And a Palstar HF Auto tuner driving that. So that's the show tonight. First off, Bob, thanks for taking the early list, and congratulations on being the keynote for Flex. That's awesome. That is awesome. That's a big deal, man. That's cool. So I wish we were going. And Rocco, thank you for hosting this evening. And yeah, it's an interesting question. And boy, you just run into everything on variable capacitors. The most common thing that you run into, like a frozen shaft with the lubricants dried out, so you got to get that stuff out of there. So I use different solvents to free them up in the first place, and I actually had a problem with the shaft actually being galled, and it was going through a bushing, and the shaft had somehow been galled, and so I had to basically disassemble the shaft and bushing and polish the shaft so that it would go back into the bushing smoothly and not stick. But yeah, a little penetrating oil, a little alcohol, maybe acetone, as long as there's no plastic in it to free it up. Automatic transmission fluid as a lubricant, or what I like is the synthetic motor oil is a good lubricant, and you can dilute that. You can take ATF and dilute it and use that as a penetrating oil to free things up. There's a little bit of alcohol, so that's another combination. Yeah, bent blades on the rotor. Oh my gosh, or stator for that matter. It takes some, on a small capacitor, and it takes some dexterity to get those things straightened out, but you need some way to check the linearity of it if you're trying to get, if you want it to be linear. A lot of caps are designed to not be linear. They're linear in frequency, but not in capacitance. So that's another fun trick. And many of them have the little adjusting tabs on them that you can tweak. And of course, it takes a reasonably good system to measure the frequency to know, or measure the capacitance to know what the value is, and if you can tweak it. I like the way they do it on the R390 on the PTO. That's a slick way to do that, but that takes a lot. That takes a lot of patience to make that thing linear. But anyway, that's enough. I'm sure we're going to hear some really, really great comments tonight, but I don't want to go on and on and on. So I'm going to turn it over to Lisa. Thanks again. Oh, and Bob, on your question, we only had a couple of inches here. We had 2 days of snow, but we only had a couple of inches of rain, and unlike the rest of the state of California, we stayed pretty dry out here. But we got enough. Over to Lisa, KF6QNG, and the Vintage Sideband Roundtable, W6DQ.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. And thank you, Rocco, for taking the round table this evening. Well, no answer to this question for me, but want to wish everyone a great evening. Hope everyone's doing well. We're doing great. And had a busy weekend, but it's all good stuff. So with that, it goes over to Larry, W6WUH from KF6QNG.
Okay, KF6QNG, a quite nice gal, W6WUH, good evening. Well, golly, I swear by 2 or 3 products, the first of which is a hot water and dish soap and a toothbrush. Dirt and old gummy grease and oil and stuff are the enemies of all these radios that sit around in garages forever. If that won't do it, and rubbing alcohol or some other kind of alcohol won't do it, a really good way to remove bad grease and oil is paint thinner, mineral spirits if you can get it. It's stinky stuff. You got to clean up after it with soap and water and other stuff, but once in a while you've got to use that stuff. But basically, I'm a great believer in soap and water, rubbing alcohol for cleaning, and 2 products. Tri-Flow penetrating lubricant, which has solvents in it, and it leaves, it has, what am I trying to say? Oh boy, brain fart. It has a silicone lubricant in it, and it has a Teflon lubricant in it, and it will leave behind a nice dry finish, which will conserve all kinds of metal things and keep them from corroding again, and leaves a nice lubricating finish behind after the solvents have dried out. And a good old deoxit D5. The business with bezels and shafts is infamous. If you've done this very long, you've pulled those things apart and had to use fine crocus cloth on them to polish them up. It's just similar metals, bronze bezel going through the panel, and then a plated steel shaft. And I've been known to cut those things off and use a piece of brass tubing and a coupling to replace a really bad shaft and save a switch or something else. And so anyway, those are the things that I recommend. You got to start with cleanliness, and then you've got to get some good lubrication. I find that deoxit is the final thing that I want to see on the wipers and the bearings of tuning capacitors in preference to anything else that I can think of once I've got them nice and clean. Okay, on to DJ K6RCL, W6WUH.
W6WUH, K6RCL. Very good. This is DJ here in Goleta. Well, all the above I've used and tried before, but one thing that has not been mentioned for frozen situations, rusted shafts, like especially the old Johnson Viking 1s and 2s, they tend to have a little problem there, especially the 1s because it's got the steel front panel. I use coal oil. It's a very highly penetrating oil. It doesn't take much, but it does a great job. It's easy to clean up, but it really penetrates and gets into the metal and sort of eats away at that film, rusted film and that kind of thing. You definitely want to make sure that the wiper contacts on the variable capacitor is rubbing well and making good contact, or you're going to have big problems. So that's my take on it, and I don't need to say any more. So thank you, Bob, for taking the earlies, and thank you, Rocco, for hosting tonight. This is K6RCL, DJ and Goleta.
Okay, everybody, some really great answers there. Let's see here. Next four is going to be AK6R. Bob, please give it to Phil, N6WHK. Phil, give it to Bob, WA9JIB. And Bob, if you would give it to Glenn, WB6RLC. AK6R, go ahead, Bob. A2RP with you. Gotcha, Ron.
Okay, very good. 6KN to take it. The barbecue. That's even better. AK6R here at Fallbrook. Oh, very good, everybody. Good answers, and boy, it's kind of out of my expertise. I'm really the amplifier guy. I work on linear amplifiers a lot, and the only VFO issues I have with those are the light tuning capacitors sometimes, but mostly it's the loading capacitors that have all been fried in an arc or something like that. So, or they won't even turn. So, I'm a non-purist at that. Getting those things to roll, so I pull out my can of WD-40 and 3-in-1 oil. Those are kind of the ones that I live with, and I get the job done. And then I use very slim jeweler's flat files to take care of the arcs and stuff. And if I have to, I cut them out with a pair of dikes. Since my dad was a dentist, I have all the dental tools for using on very small surfaces, including stainless steel dikes, which are made in Germany, which will cut through anything. So that's what I do. I don't have much experience with the receivers. I let the experts do that, and I work on the amplifiers from time to time. So not much of an answer, but I guess you just have to say what you're good at, carry it on from there. Anyway, over to Phil. Let's get some enlightenment from you, Phil. N6WHK. Take it from AK6R.
AK6R and 6WHK. Well, to start off with, I'm running my Swan 350 Delta to a Marathon up to my coaxial loop. No tuner in line. Coaxial is dead on frequency, so I don't have to worry about any of the other stuff. I'm not real good at working on these rigs on that capacity. I've never had to work on the tuner mechanism. I've worked on other things. I use deoxin. I use a little bit of penetrating oil for different parts, getting screws and things out. I use a little bit of simple green to clean stuff up. But for the tuners, I've never had to really mess with them so far. Now this rig I'm running, the digital readout is fouled up. It's got a bunch of shorts in it, and we're slowly going through and soldering up those connections. It's actually reading on frequency tonight. Oh, hooray. With that, I'm going to turn it over to WA9JIB. It's all here up there in God's country. N6WHK.
Okay, Phil. N6WHK, WA9JIB. Bob over here in God's country, otherwise known as La Cañada. A very special town, because every other letter in it is A. So how about that? If that doesn't make it special, I don't know what else would. Anyway, so I'm running tonight my Helicrafter's Dream Station, which starts with a Kenwood MC50 mic, oddly enough, and then goes into an HT32B for Bob, paired with its mate, the SX115. Yeah, I do go through a tuner, an MC949C, I think it is, that I got from K2RP, because my antenna's not as resonant as it should be, and the antenna is an inverted V dipole hanging off the 35-foot mast. And let's see, got the R48 speaker, so other than the microphone, we're all, and the tuner, we're all Helicrafters here tonight. And my favorite radio company. Okay, I don't have extensive stuff on this. I've done a little of this stuff. And some of it
shows my inexperience. I was trying to, I had a capacitor, I think on the S20R, that was tuning just beautifully, except for maybe a third of its range, and then it would just fine. And I'm looking at the ball bearings, and I'm squirting some oil in there, and of course I think I really should take it apart and repack it with grease, and I don't want to do that, and I couldn't get the screw out the back anyway. It was really in there tight. When lo and behold, I realized that the clearance was tight to the front panel, and I guess the front panel had got pushed in a little bit and was rubbing on the big flywheel that holds the dial cord string. And once that was resolved, everything was fine. So it may not be in your actual capacitor if you're having restricted movement. Look around elsewhere too before you start disassembling stuff. I learned that the hard way, so you might as well profit from my my experience. Let's see. One of the problems I had with this very SX115 when I first got it shortly thereafter was a little bit of backlash in the dial, and it really annoyed me. I thought an SX115 shouldn't have backlash. And so the way I solved that is I just vigorously tuned it through its range 2 or 3 times, and voila, the backlash was gone. So I think most of these higher-end radios have a couple of plates with springs that tie them together to deal with anti-backlash. But if they don't get used that much, or they don't change frequency that much, you know, maybe they just well, I'm not sure what happens with them. But anyway, I had a little bit of backlash, but all I had to do to repair that was just, like I say, vigorously run it through its range 2 or 3 times, and the problem has never recurred. So that's a little bit of an oddity, but I'll toss that into the mix. Okay, Glenn, WB6RLC, WA9JIB.
Alrighty, WA9JIB, WB6RLC. Hey, that's a good point, Bob. Yeah, anyway. So, Glenn here, Cathedral City, next Berg over Palm Springs. Rich tonight, the Swan Fitbit 300 Trable for Glenn. And sure 4044 mic and up to an off-center fed dipole at 13 feet. Let's see. Yeah, all of the above. Like I said, I like some of the, I'm taking in some good information here. The solvent I haven't heard anybody mention yet. And maybe it's too old world, but I always keep a can of Marble Mystery Oil in the shack for working on cars and working on old radios to loosen things up and get it going good. So that's pretty much what I got to throw into the mix. A little bit of Marble Mystery Oil. So anyway, going over to Kevin there, WA6 JKS, WB6RL. Oh, wait, no. It goes back to Rocco. It goes back to you, Rocco. N6KN, WB6RLC in the group.
Okay, Glenn, thanks. Before I go further, anybody else trying to get in here on the Vintage SSB roundtable list? Go now. KJ6HN. Max, was that you?
Yeah, Max, KJ6HN. Good evening.
Yeah, I've got noise here, Max. I've got you. You'll be at the end there following K2RP. Anybody else trying to get in? Okay. Well, let me just say, you can, we've got great answers. I really love this. And if you wish to talk about an alignment, meaning the R's and C's that you adjust to get your endpoints just right with respect to your variable capacitor and indexing and stuff like that. You know, I've never seen any of that stuff in any of these videos on YouTube and this and that. That kind of, it's so darn important, and yet you hardly ever see people talking about this stuff. I will mention one thing myself here that nobody's mentioned yet, and that is that there are screws, large screws usually with nuts that set the bearing, the main bearing on these capacitors. And if you have one that's binding and it's nothing else, it could be the darn thing is just too tight. And I've gone through that a few times. So that's my contribution. Let's see, Kevin, WA6JKN, take it and give it to Matthew, N4DLA. Matthew, please give it to Wayne, KD60QJ. And Wayne, please give it to Mike, KG7TR. WA6JKN, go ahead, Kevin.
Okay, Rocco. Yeah, that's a good one, Rocco. Yeah, don't forget about those set screws. The closest I ever came to that was I couldn't move the 75A4 after I bought it. I said, "Oh no, the shaft is bound up," and all it was the dial lock. The same kind of thing, right? And so anyway, I loosened that up, and all I could do was smile. It almost caused me to start tearing the thing apart. Oh well. Okay, a couple of things here. I'm on the KW Sugar 1 with service bulletin number 7. The A version will be coming out here in the next couple of months, so I'm looking forward to that. Let's see, 75A4, the one I was just talking about, the dial lock was, oh well, it almost got me, but I figured it out eventually. I won't tell you how long it took, but it took a while. All right, a couple of things that I thought of is, and this is something I learned from my father, was one of my mentors. Don't use petroleum on electronics. It doesn't do what you think it does. WD-40, 3-in-1 oil, unless the manufacturer calls it out, don't use it because it doesn't really protect against corrosion. So what protects against corrosion? Mineral oil. So where do you find that? Real simple. My dad always kept in the shop a bottle of sewing machine oil, and that's what he used. Very little. It's light. It's a light oil, and you just use a little bit of it, sewing machine oil. And why do you want to use that? Well, it's because it doesn't corrode like WD-40 and 3-in-1. It doesn't prevent corrosion, is what I'm trying to say. So sewing machine oil is something I remember from my father. I'm not a material engineer, so I can't really confirm or deny that. So, but I will tell you that that's what I've used, and it seems to do the job really well. It's odorless. It doesn't gum up. It doesn't just gum up. And one other thing I wanted to mention was if you don't have sewing machine oil, you get what do they call it, the synthetic version. They do have the synthetic version, which I've never tried, but it is somewhat expensive. So there you go. It will not corrode. The last thing I want to share is storage. We really need to we need to consider storage if we're going to keep these radios for the next generation to use. Don't leave it out in your garage. That's the wrong place and the most damaging place for an environment, unless you have a workshop like I have, which is all completely insulated and environmentally controlled. That's a different animal. I'm just talking about a bare bones garage, the worst thing that can happen to a radio. And I just thought of one other thing, Simple Green. That hasn't been mentioned. Simple Green to clean your variable capacitors. That works really well. You do have to go in there and clean out the Simple Green afterwards, and whatever floats your boat on that one. And let's see, there was one other thing. W6INV, he solved his variable capacitor problem in his receiver by replacing the receiver capacitor with a variable vacuum. And that was kind of cool to see that variable vacuum up close and personal. And it seemed to work just fine. I don't remember any jumping around. That's it, Rocco. Over to Matthew, and for DLA, WA6JKN.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. WA6JKN and the Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable. This is Matthew, and for DLA, I'm located in Orinda, California, about 15 miles east of San Francisco, running an Atlas 210X transceiver, Shure 444 microphone, straight feeding a 75-meter coaxial dipole sloping down from 60 feet. And thanks, Kevin, for the information on the sewing machine oil. It's true that some people have a kind of a knee-jerk reaction to reach the 3-in-1 oil or the WD-40, thinking it's some sort of universal magical pixie dust. Remember, WD means water displacement, and your rig's not underwater. I had a PTO rebuild of my Ten-Tech Century 21 about 20 years ago. I'd owned it about 10 years, and it was about 10 years old when I got it used from the old amateur electronics supply, and then all of a sudden the CFO PTO just gummed up. It just wouldn't move anymore. It caked, it gunked up, and back then, when Ten-Tech was still viable, they had a PTO rebuild kit, which we bought from them, and followed all manufacturer's instructions. The toughest thing was getting the front knob off, off the front panel. But all that gunk gets in there, and gotta just take the stuff out of there. So that's the main enemy is the gunk in there. So okay, over to Wayne, KD6OQJ. And Rocco, thanks for running the net and being our host next month. KD6OQJ, Wayne from N4DLA, Orinda.
Okay, thanks, Matthew. This is Wayne, KB6OQJ up in Santa Ynez. And, boy, band conditions, bands have improved quite a bit. It was a little marginal at the beginning of the net, but noise has dropped down and the signals have come up. Anyhow, tonight I'm running the KWM2A with a 312B5 VFO, a static 10B mic, 30L1 amplifier, and 2 inverter V up 50 feet. And thanks, Rocco, for taking the net tonight, and Bob for taking the early. And a very interesting question. Of course, I don't have the experience that a lot of you have had, but the solutions sound really interesting, and I'm learning quite a bit. The only problem I've ever had is just some bent leads that I've been able to straighten out. And I'm glad, thanks for bringing up Marvel Mystery Hour. You know, I have a can out in the garage, but I haven't used it in a long time, so I have to go check that out again. Let's see. Not a whole lot else to add for the night, so we'll keep it going. So it goes over to you, Mr. Mike, KG7TR, KB6OQJ.
Okay, thank you very much, Wayne. Mike, KG7TR over in Shoalo, Arizona. Haven't been on the net for quite a while because I've been down in the valley staying warm during a record-breaking snowy and cold winter up here. Tonight I'm on my homebrew HP75 transceiver, which uses a focused biomechanical filter and an ARC-5 tuning capacitor, which I'll talk about in a minute. And the transceiver is driving my homebrew dual A13 linear, 65-foot in-fed long wire. And the mic is a Shure 444. I've worked with ARC-5 tuning capacitors on a lot of homebrew radios over the years, probably a dozen of them. And I have to say they're probably one of the finest VFO capacitors ever made. First of all, they're made with an alloy called Invar, which doesn't expand and contract with temperature, so they're very stable. Good bearings. The rear capacitor from an old ARC-5 transmitter has a preload adjustment on it. So if you clean it up and set it up right, you get absolutely no backlash at all. And Rocco was talking about that worm drive on that R5 capacitor, that you can preload it. It's like adjusting the valve on an old car. It's got a set screw and a lock screw, so you could take all of the backlash out of it. There are two gears on the drive end of those capacitors that are anti-backlash spring-loaded, and they have to be free of each other. And most of them I've seen after 80 years of sitting there, the two gears are locked together, so you will get backlash. So I have to soak the front end of them in something like paint thinner for a day or two to free up those gears. You have to make sure that they are not locked together. So that's about it for the ARC 5 caps. Again, they are wonderful. They have about 100-to-1 reduction ratio on them. Now, as far as getting rid of the jitters and lubricating everything, I have lately been lubricating them with a silver conductive grease that's available from MG Chemicals. It's number 8463-7. The -7 means 7 grams. It's about $25 for a tiny tube, but believe me, that's more than a lifetime supply. So that silver conductive grease is some kind of a special soap. And so there's some caveats that I have to offer if you're going to use that grease. It works very well for making a solid sliding contact with the capacitor. But at least on the ARC 5 caps, I only use it on the rotor of the cap because that turns very slowly. I've tried to use it on the worm drive, which is the part that's connected to the tuning knob, and it does come up and get sticky, so it's not very satisfactory for that part of a variable capacitor, but it works great on the rotor, which turns very slowly. The caveat is don't get it on your fingers. It's extremely hard to get off of your fingers, and do not get it on ceramic or fiber insulation because it makes the conductor pass and it's extremely hard to remove. So use a toothpick or something and only put it on the bearings and sliders. The ARC 5 caps have ball bearings on the drive end, so I use it there, and then they have a sliding contact on the back end, and I use it there. And again, on the worm gear sets, it gets sticky, so there I just use either like moly grease or synthetic motor oil. That works pretty well. I don't know how well the silver conductive grease would work like on a Collins PTO. They have that sliding contact on them. I do think it does a good job of making up for plating that's worn off of shafts, so that silver grease, it kind of spreads out and keeps a nice conductive path. I don't know how well it would work on a Collins PTO. I haven't tried that. I do know that if any of you have gotten the Electric Radio magazine and with the interviews with John Clemens, who designed the Mosley CM1, he does talk about using silver conductive grease on his VFO caps because he had some problems with it. So again, it's from MG Chemicals, and it's product number 8463-7 if you want to get rid of the jittery action on a VFO capacitor. Don't know about Dennis W6DQ just talked about break free, which might be a good product to use on the anti-backlash gears on an ARC 5 cap to break them loose and get them freed up. And after that, I don't lubricate those at all. I clean them up with paint thinner and let them dry out, and don't put anything on those gears. That's about it from here. So then it goes from here back to you, Rocco, N6KN in the Vinny single sideband roundtable KC7TR.
Okay, Mike and everybody, and boy, we're getting some terrific answers, aren't we? All right, next four will be, well, let's see, we're going to do 5. So it'll be Chuck, N6AF, Chuck, give it to Art, KB7LOQ, Art, give it to Skip, K6LGL, Skip, give it to Ron, K2RP, and Ron, if you would give it to Max, KJ6HN, okay? N6AF, go ahead, Chuck.
All right, thanks, Rocco. N6AF on the KWM2. And let me see, now I'm running it into a pretty much homebrew solid state amp, running about 400 out with a set of 4 MRF 421. So that's not vintage. But the operator and the KWM2 certainly are. So I'll start with the KWM2 with the question of the evening. When I picked up this KWM2 for $250, including the slide-on PM2 power supply, I figured I'd probably have to do a little bit of work. Well, I went through the VFO dial calibration procedure per Collins several times, and I absolutely could not get it to track over 200 kilohertz. It had about a 7 kilohertz error end to end, which something was clearly out of whack. And fortunately, the component that was out of whack had an intermittent. It was the 3000 puff cap in the PTO. And sometimes it's sure helpful to have an active problem like that. So I went in there armed with my freeze spray and identified it, and it just tracks beautifully now, and no longer intermittent. So, Rocco, you said it wasn't just physical aspects, but just a drop of light machine oil. I could even go into the garage and find my Penn Senator custom Penn fishing reel oil tube. Probably 1 gram in that tube, and that's a nice little oil as well. But you drop that onto the bearings, and if there's no adjustment there, like a lock nut and screw on that variable cap, you can get in there and get a little bit aggressive and very carefully kind of swage the overall assembly a little bit to take a little pressure off that bearing set, and there's that. One other comment on air variable caps. I have a pair of HQ170s. One of them was a victim of both the golden screwdriver, but the guy had a very good golden machete as well, and that was a big job repairing that whole receiver. But I found I could improve the dial tracking by going in and bending some of the variable capacitor plates ever so slightly, like towards one end of when they're going to be fully meshed, right? So you can actually change its tuning rate, per radian. How's that? As a function of its position on its overall play. And then the last thing, this will be my one and only transmission. My last comment on the air variable cap. An interesting thought came to mind when you posed the question there, Rocco, and that is when I was studying diligently for my novice test in early 1971, I have to say I kind of lost my technical virginity while reading the ARRL handbook, and I learned what those variable capacitors are doing in there and the definition of resonance. So now I understood how the receiver selected particular frequencies, but the hobby at that point lost a little bit of its mystique and mystery. And I remember worrying about that as a novice. Gosh, now it's not a total mystery. I just understand it too well, but there's always something new to add mystery to it. And with that, over to Art, KB7LOQ. This is N6AF.
N6AF, Chuck. This is KB7LOQ, Art. Tonight I'm running an Helicopter's FPM 300 that I picked up a couple of days ago. We breathed some life into it. Put your hands on your VFO or RIT, because this thing's drifting back and forth like an iCode 753. But we got it running, and when I get back to St. George, I'll go through it all and see if I can't make it a little bit better. One of the things I found
to clean variable caps is scrubbing bubbles sprayed on the chassis and variable cap and let it soak in and then kind of flush it off with water. Careful not to get it into any transformers, etc. And that shines things up and makes them clean like new. It's funny on this helicopters. We were getting arcing on the plate tuning capacitor. It was just full of dirt. Even though we blew it out, it was full of dirt. We had to get a fine paintbrush to get the particles out of there. One last thing, everybody's mentioned deoxit, and now with the new deoxit folding tip, you don't have to adjust it anymore. It's a full hose of deoxit no matter what, so just a perfect straw, just press the button and just hose that out to increase the oxid's profit. So anyhow, with that, over there to you, Skip, I hope I'm kind of still on frequency. K6LGL KB7LOQ.
Well, you drifted around a little bit, Art, but I just followed you with my RIT here. K6LGL, Skip in Santa Monica. By the bay, I'm on my 902DM. Variable capacitors, yeah, we cover that. First, deoxit helps to make sure, and deoxit also has some lubricating capabilities to it. Very light machine oil on the bearing, and then I cleaned it up with self-absorbent paper or something like that. You don't want anything extra on that. And the same thing goes for switches, the rotary switches. But the big problem is how do you clean the plates, both the moving and the starters and the rotors. And what I do generally, I'll take maybe a credit card, and depending what the spacing is, and then very soft paper, and I use window cleaner. Sometimes 409, but something that does not leave any residue behind. And you'd be surprised how you can improve, especially in transmitting capacitors where you have arcing. So you have to clean the plates periodically. So, and I try to avoid using any variable capacitors outdoors. I use vacuum variables for that job if I have to do any serious tuning with high power. And that eliminates a lot of problems. All right, I guess next it goes to, let's see, K2RP. Welcome back, Mike. KG7TR. It's been a number of months since we heard you. Glad to know you're still well and still kicking. The important thing is that you're still active. So over to you there, Ron, and good evening to all. And again, thanks for an interesting net and an interesting question. K2RP, K6LGL.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Skip, and everybody. Bob for taking the earlies, and of course Rocco for taking good care of the net. I don't have a lot to say. I haven't had a lot of problems physically in tuning dials. But one of the things people who warn against petroleum lubricant, the thing that I also rebuild besides radios are clocks. And clocks have also a prohibition against using petroleum-based lubricants, and I think the reason is that they'll attract dust and dirt. And you can get clock oil, which is very expensive. We only have to put a little drop on it, and I just finished rebuilding a grandfather clock, which is 150 years old. And my friend here who's in the clock repair business, I asked him how often should I lubricate it. And he said, you'll never have to do it in your lifetime. And I'm old, so who knows what that is. I use it very, very sparingly, but it's a very heavy-duty lubricant. It's very light. And that's all I got to say about it. Looking forward to seeing everybody at Rocco's in a few weeks. And for now, let's turn it over to Max. Pick it up, Max, K2RP.
Alrighty, K2RP, KJ6HN here in Darwin, California. And I must say it's been really interesting listening to the various remedies that people have for getting that, what did you say, Rocco, that glassy tuning effect. And I gotta say, in 40 years of running ham radio boat anchors, I've never really had a problem. I started to have a problem with my 75 S3A receiver, the PTO, and I took it out and took it apart, and I'm using a pocket, and I scraped off that 50-year-old screen from the tuning shaft, and then cleaned it using Marvel Mystery Oil and cotton towel. And I wiped it really, really super clean, and then I put on just a dab of silicone grease and put it back into the receiver, and it worked great. It was working great before, but not as great as it could have been. And so that's my only experience with old boat anchor tuners. So, but anyway, it's been really interesting hearing what other people have had to deal with over the years with freeing up seized or out of control tuning PTOs or whatnot. So I learned a lot, and thanks, Rocco, for the topic. It's been an interesting evening for me to hear what other people have to say. So I guess it goes back over to you, K6KN and the group, KJ6HN.
Okay, Max. This is N6KN. Well, we're at the bottom of the list here. And, boy, terrific answers from this group. I'm impressed. So how am I going to pick out the best answers? Well, first, the funniest answer, almost hysterically funny, was Wayne, KB60QJ, quote, I don't have the experience some of you have, unquote. All right. Very, very witty there, Wayne. Okay. I'm going to award this Golden Cup tonight to Mike KG7TR for his remarks on the ARC 5 tuning caps, most of which apply to just about any of these. I did not know about the silver conductive grease, but boy, there's a couple caps I've run into where I would have gone to that. And also thank you for the caveats and warnings, Mike. Nice to hear you. KJ7TR, thank you very much for that answer. Go ahead.
Oh, thanks, Rocco. I was glad to provide my hard lessons learned the hard way. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, the great stuff. Okay, fellas and gals, Lisa, that was fun. Very informative. And we'll see you next week, I'm sure, most of you. This is N6KN. I'll be closing down the Vintage SSB Roundtable, and good night to all.